We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Have y'all ever just got out the shower and just drying off, and before you know it, you just wiped the booger way clean across your face? I looked in the mirror. I had booger right here, booger on my in my ear. I had to just clean all that up. Well, black people, y'all have banded together and got a sponsorship taken from Miss Wendy Williams. Congratulations. So see, when y'all stick together, y'all can accomplish it. Y'all can accomplish things. But you shouldn't do it by your own for your own people. Okay? So I'm gonna give y'all a couple of stories so y'all can see why I am so connected for the power of black people, even if they are quote unquote in the wrong. Okay. When I knew I wanted to be a designer, I had just came out of the closet, and I met a friend of mine, a friend in Atlanta by the name of Tony at the time, and he will eventually become Tierra Tejor. He introduced me to my quote unquote mentor. I'm just going to call him my mentor because you know bitches would try to sue your ass these days. Okay, so my mentor. So he was like, you can, you know, out of anyone that has ever come to me, you have been the most professional because you know you gotta. I was at Tennessee State University, so pretty much at a university, you know, HBCUs, Wendy, um, you are taught to be extremely professional, and sometimes in my field of fashion just a little bit over professional just because you know boom. So I went in the interview, I had a portfolio, I had resume, things that I thought you should have when you're applying for a fashion job or intern. So I end up spending the summer in Baltimore. um, and you have to keep in mind, I had just came out of the closet. I was in my early 20s. I didn't know nothing about being catty, but God knows I do now. I didn't know nothing about reading. I had never met a drag queen. I definitely had never met a transsexual. Like I thought they was unicorns. Like you hear about them, but you never saw them. And like literally, when I never forget. Oh, yeah, and I get excited. And we always talk about this story when I see her. Tragedy. Like I saw her, I was like, oh my god, like bitch, are you real? Like, and I was asking like crazy questions, like, do you still have your thing? And it was like, oh my god, you don't supposed to ask people that. That's like, oh, like that's like asking people what's your tea, and I was like, well, what is a tea? Like the tea bag? Like I was so green to the lifestyle. Like they had to teach me everything. So doing the intern, um, pretty much like I was learning a lot. I was learning everything that you possibly could imagine. It was crazy, exciting at the same time, you know, another black designer. But I did notice that he had like a dark cloud over him. Like he'll have an attitude sometimes. I'm like, this shit is not that serious, bitch. We sewing clothes and shit. Like, who cares? Like, what? Um, and I was so green to the whole lifestyle. Like he would make me cry sometime because he would accuse me of stealing. Like I'm like, me steal? Child, I just called my daddy and he gonna send me some money. And I had a nasty old refund check coming from Tennessee State University. And God knows, baby, at them HBCUs, honey, they let you take out the maximum amount, honey. And I owe Sally Mae still to this day all that damn money. She ain't getting a damn thing back. Anyway, so I was like, I don't have to steal. Like, where's this coming from? Like, you know. So into the intern, we end up cutting the intern short because because he was just weird. It seemed like he never had good people in his life that treat him good and that was loyal to him. And I will tell you something that really kind of weird in the whole relationship. You know, his ex, that he claimed that his ex, but the guy said he wasn't. And I was green. I was new to this. I'm like, oh, this hot little guy trying to talk to me. And he was calling the house. And this was before the age of cell phones and all that. Bitch, we was still on Black Planet. That's how long ago it was. And you know, I just was green to the whole the point and the whole the scheme of it all. And even till this day, that person, if I'd known what I know now, I would have never ever dealt with that person because that person tried to do me in even up until last year. But he got other things to pay and he's suffering for it, all of it right now. We're gonna leave it at that. Um, and so we decided to to end the intern early. And before I left the intern, I was like, like weeks before, I was like, hey, can I get information about like rhinestones? Because actuality, this person is the same person that taught me how to um, put the feathers on Candy's dress, the rhinestones, all of that stuff, all of that stuff. And it was even a little beef on Instagram, but I just ignored him, honey. It was what it was, and I'm gonna tell you why. So after we cut the intern short, like I think I ended up leaving like 2 or 3 weeks early. I went back to Nashville, and I was in Joanne Fabrics, and I was pushing a buggy. And mind you, I I'm in like khakis. I'm in a polo, some Tims. Think I had like cornrows or twists, like I had hair. Like, I was very much that guy, like, boom. I could have passed this trade. Y'all know y'all like it. I could have passed this trade. And so I'm pushing this buggy, and this guy was just like, what are you doing with that stuff? I said, I'm gonna make me some G strings and go sell them at the club because my mentor taught me, to make a little bread and butter items to get you a couple of bucks through school. And I was making 200-300 a night in college. Was making some major coins. I'd go up to the strip club and be like, hey, I'm paying my way to school. Like, I need to sell these. And when a bitch didn't want to give me their money, baby, I went in. And so um, and he was just like, "Oh, that's dope." I was just like, "But I'm having one problem, like, because he asked me if I need any help. Let him know." He gave me his number. I said, "Well, I do have one problem. I don't have any information with like feathers and rhinestones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And he actually knew who my mentor was, and he was just like, "I've heard of him. I know him for his work." So evidently, he probably was a shady person before, and Troy Constantino in Nashville, Tennessee. I love him. He's like a father to me. He was like, come by. The very next morning, I went by. I stayed at that man's house for about 4 or 5 hours because I never seen another black designer like besides my mentor in Baltimore and a couple of more other people here and there, but they never, like the things that he made, it was so amazing. And he had this huge file cabinet, like 3 file cabinets, and he said just go through them. And I literally had like all of the catalogs on the floor. He was like, take what you want. I left with a big old crate, and I had like all the information from all these companies in New York and everywhere. So I was so excited. I ordered rhinestones, I ordered feathers, and mind you, I had a friend, Tony. He did drag at the time, so he was just like, "Oh, make me this, make me that," because he actually bought my first gown that I made that my mentor taught me how to make, and so he was just like, "Oh, I'm working on a pageant. Could you make me this?" And usually whatever I made, he paid whatever I wanted, whatever I wanted, and I made him this big old feathered piece. And I hope I'll be able to find a picture on Facebook because when I ran for Mr. TSU, I used that actual piece in my pageant in my business scene. And this red, beautiful trumpet bottom gown, this big old train, and these rhinestones on it. And so my mentor called me. He was just like, "Well, what are you working on?" I was like, "Well, I'm working on a this big feather piece for Tony, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And we would talk every now and then. So he was just like, "Oh," but the O is kind of very stale like. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's getting a little hot in here, child. Just got out this shower, honey. I'm naked. Don't got on clothes. Oh, so then I got commissioned to do some dance girl uniforms for my old high school dance team, or Braden High School Dancing Diamonds, founded by me, created by me. um, and so he had this blue that in the fashion industry we call it a Dior blue. It's like a Columbia blue. And I kept telling him all summer, I need to order that. I need to order that. I need to order that. I got to produce this order. So he decided to order for the last minute, and he charged me about and $25. So I said, okay, no problem. I paid it with, mind you, I'm in college. I paid this with no problem. I got the the box. Guess how much the whole order was? It was $97.50 for all the sequins and fringe. So I said to, I almost, I said, mentor, um, I'm getting the invoice. I just got the invoice, but it says 97, but I paid you 400. I said, I see if you would have upcharged me half, but 400, four times the amount. He went totally off. That's why I don't want to do business with you. You think everything should be handed to you. And mind you, I'm from an HBCU where we're taught to help each other. We're taught to help black people. And I'm like, I mean, I don't mind charging the upcharge, giving you an upcharge fee or whatever, but this is ridiculous. Like you supposed to be my mentor. You supposed to be my father, like my gay father. Like, what are you doing? So that was the first time. This happened over a course of 10 years. It's happened about 3 times. Like, I've almost gone to court because of him. I've lost clients because of him. So I just decided to just cut him off, period. Now, that's one story. Because even that whole situation, still to this day, is not right. And I just simply told him, like, look, you ain't been there for me like that. I appreciate you for everything that you have taught me, but we don't need to be friends because you don't have my back like that. So this other story is, it was a young drag queen that I was friends with, because in the whole drag circuit, entertainment circuit, you meet different people, because when I came to Atlanta, I was just doing a lot of drag queens. And they came to be my intern. And I tell all of my interns, or whoever works for me, when you become a member of the House of Chapelle, you're always a member of the House of Chapelle. And my doors are always open to you. And so it was cool. We had a great relationship. Whenever they needed anything, any advice, any to order something, it was great. So when I end up trying out for Project Runway like 7 times, and we're gonna get into the Project Runway situation after I tell this story. And I end up getting on the fashion show. So when I did the fashion show, they was going on Project Runway when they were going for the audition. So I said, look, this is because I went missing and no one know where I was when I was taping the show. And so I was like, look, you're finna go on this show. You need to be that token black queen, because that's what they look for in us. So when all of y'all thinking that, oh, you doing so and so, yeah, I had to turn it up a little bit for the camera so I can get chosen to be on the show. Ooh, child, it's hot in here, honey. These lights. And so that person did just that. Person did great on the show, came off, was doing amazing, got movies. Anytime they needed advice, I was there. Here's books, because a lot of people don't know that I actually have a degree in family consumer science with a concentration in design, interiors, and textiles. And we had a big part of our curriculum that was geared towards costuming. So whenever it came down to breaking down scripts, doing plays, and also I did wardrobe for plays in college. So I sung, danced, and plays, and also did the wardrobe and all that good stuff. Jack of all trades. Ha! A jack of all trades. How that sound? Anyway, whenever they needed anything, and even up until before we kind of call it quits, I called it quits. They would come over, use my cutting tables, my patterns, and in the design world, it is a no to ask a designer to use their pattern. That's just like going to like anybody going to KFC and like, what's your special recipe for your chicken? Girl, why should I give you the recipe for my chicken, girl, so you can go home and make the chicken? But like literally, I was doing that for that person. So I was working on a big project, and he told me that he found a seamstress that was great and affordable in Atlanta. And I asked him, could I, before I even got it out, he said no. I said, excuse me? He said no. I said, okay, never said anything. So I called again. He said, I'm not giving you that lady's number. After the rhinestones, after the jewelry makers, after the books, after the advice, after this, the patterns, after using my space, just talking to you as a friend, you said no. I said, cool. I walked away and haven't said anything to him since. So this story right here, this story kind of is a little bit emotional for me. Like I said earlier, I tried out for Project Runway 7 times. 7 times. This last particular time, I went into casting. The casting was in Atlanta. So when I went in with my models, I said, you know what? I'm going to do this big. I got these gorgeous gowns. I got these beautiful models. And at the time, I was in heavily into makeup and because I could do everybody makeup and everything. So I was heavily all into that. So I had these girls dolled up. And like literally when I was getting ready, the production team was looking at me like, what the fuck? Literally. So when I walked in, I saw a familiar face. And I was like, thank you. Thank God for the 7th time I finally get on this show. And we just started the interview process. You got pretty much 2 minutes to sell yourself. So I sold myself, trying out for Project Runway casting. You pretty much know how to identify yourself as a designer, what your aesthetic is, and what you are about as a designer. Next thing you know, shit went left. The designer was just like, I don't see it. Like everybody, we all looked at each other like, bitch, you don't see what? Like, this looked like prom, this looked like pageant. I was like, yes, this pageant this gown right here is from my client. She's Mrs. Great Britain. Yes, it is for pageants. That's a lot of my clientele. I say as a designer, you have to know what your client is, and we're down south. Pageants are a big thing because at Project Runway, you got to be able to give an answer and back your answer up quick in like 5 seconds. So everything that they threw at me, I was boom, 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 boom. It went very degrading. Like, oh, I don't see you can't even walk in that dress. And I'm like, she can't walk in the dress, but it's an editorial piece. But we all know if you take the bottom off, cut it, it can be very modified for ready to wear. Change the color, it can be a wedding gown, white. I had an answer for everything. And like he threw me under the bus so bad. I cried afterwards, bitch. You ain't gonna get me. You ain't gonna break me while I'm in there, honey. I cried. I really did. I went home. I had a fashion show. Literally, I was in Chattanooga at the time. I cried. Like I bawled out crying on stage because I was just like, how, like my own people do this to me. And y'all probably like, why are you going so hard for Wendy Williams? Why are you going so hard for Wendy Williams? You just don't know how many emails. I got an email when I first moved here to LA, and somebody said, oh, you talk too much. You should be much farther in your career. This, that, and the third. Yada, 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 yada. You don't listen. I probably would be a lot further in my career if I wasn't dealing with a lot of us. To me personally, in my face, white people ain't did. Why white person ain't did a damn thing to me. A damn thing. It's been my own. Just imagine, Project Runway could have changed my whole career. You would never, ever imagine, what if a white person come to you and tell you your own people will take care of you? You can't win this show. That's what they told me on the fashion show. And if you say anything to anybody, you will be blackballed from the industry. I took a deep breath and swallowed and said, okay, knowing in the back of my head how my people already treated me, I'm not going to get far. And it's so funny, that person that threw me up under the bus for Project Runway, we was at an event. And I always wonder why are they throwing so much shade at me? I'm being green to the situation because I'm like, the grass is greener on the other side. Like, hey, the sunshine. Like, I'm trying to make peace with all designers. And He was like, "Oh, Rico, that is a bad gown. That gown that you posted on Instagram was beautiful." Da 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 da. And I said, "Bruh, that's the same gown that you dogged me out on when the Project Runway." "Oh, that was not the same gown." He swore up and down. He swore up and down that it wasn't the same gown. And I said, "Bruh, it is." And I walked away. You talking about if I only sit and told y'all of how many people that have put their claws down my back and scratched. And I'm gonna tell you that's why it's so hard for me to talk about the Merit of Medicine situation. Like I'm gonna tell you, I didn't go back because of money situations. And I'm going to get into details on a later video. I didn't go back because money situation. And the people that I thought had my back, they didn't answer the phone. And you can only imagine. Guess who answered the phone? Mariah. Mariah answered the damn phone. Quad didn't. Nope. She didn't. She said she had to worry about her own self. But did I say that when I was working on that puppy line? No. So the situation about Wendy Williams, we made it a point to go in on her. And then y'all applauding, talking about, yeah, that's good. You lost your sponsorship for Chevrolet. Yada, 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 yada. Y'all were just going hard on her. Y'all don't know what Wendy has gone through. And y'all steady going, and y'all putting so much time and energy bashing our own people. They still killing us. And I wonder how long is it going to be for the next time when somebody else going to get killed? When somebody else is going to die? When everything simmer down? Because like I said in the last video, we'll sit around, we'll fight, and it will cool out. And then we'll go in. So if y'all want to know why I'm so passionate about the Wendy Williams situation, if you didn't like it, you shouldn't have said a damn thing. You should have closed your mouth, flipped the channel, and don't say nothing else. But you taking food out of that lady's mouth. Like that designer took food out of my mouth. But guess what? At the end of the day, I tell people like this. When it comes to me, I'm anointed by a different spirit. The light always shines on me. I always win. I always have, and I always will. And if I be down, I'm only down for a short time because I know who has my back, and that's that man upstairs. And I don't even get spiritual like that because it rubs people the wrong way. And when I really get into religion and religion views, I piss a lot of people off. And even with political views, I piss a lot of people off. But I know I'm truly, 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 truly blessed. And I always win. That's only some food for thought. So for y'all, the naysayers that always got something to say about my career, that I should be this, I should be that. Maybe if you want to talk about me or talk about other people, our own people, and maybe we can get somewhere. That's just telling the truth. So thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, forward the channel. Forward to your good Judy, especially designers who's trying to break into the industry, so you can see my walk and the things like this. I'm doing this type of video because this type of stuff will never ever get captured on a reality show segment. So I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye. Mwah.